And welcome back. So powering through the Fanimation fans, here is one of my favorites. It is a Casablanca Saturn in polished brass and copper. So this one I got mostly because of the light parts that it had. It was not complete by any means, and I'll go through that in a bit. But I decided to use this one with no light, and then for the other one I have of this, make it complete with the full Saturn Light kit with the peach rings and all that. And this one isn't fully done, I guess, in terms of restorations. I still have to do a bit of work on the blades, which I'll show after the tag. So this one is from May 13th, 1987. Second year for the Saturn. But still a pretty early one because these were made until 94, maybe? Yeah, maybe that. You know what else was released in May of 1987? Castlevania for the NES. So that really goes to show how long ago this fan was made. But it still works beautifully. Oh, another thing to mention is that I did accidentally put these rings upside down. This little lip is supposed to be on top, and then that side's supposed to be facing down. What happened is that I was swapping the faceplates because this used to be the top one, but it looks a lot better than the other one, so I switched those. But anyways, I'll put it through its speeds while I keep blabbering. Oh, yeah, whatever. We'll put it in reverse. I forgot I had it that way. So yeah, at Fanimation, this was kind of a last-minute sale from Andrew, where it was motor, blades, but no control, no canopy, no crossbar, any of that. And it had the rings for the light, but it was missing the center shade and one of the screws for it. Not one of the longer ones, but one of the like switch cap screws that are unique to the Saturn. So I gotta admit, I wasn't entirely sure I'd be able to find replacements for all of that, but thankfully some other collectors pointed me in the right direction, namely Brian Hicks, so thank you. And I'm going to be able to make a complete light kit out of that. So as for what I added already, that stepped canopy came off of another fan. I honestly can't even remember what at this point, but I saved it deliberately so that I could put it on this fan. It was kind of on-off whether these had the normal canopy or the stepped one, but I think the stepped one is cooler and more appropriate for the Saturn. I had to put a regular switch cap on it because it had this. Let me show it off. This is what they have. So the older, oh, there goes the screw. But the older Saturns have these 3 intermediate base lights as opposed to a single halogen, which came later on. The halogen is definitely a better design, at least as long as you don't like overdo the brightness in it, because then that'll cause a bunch of stuff to like warp, namely the metal and maybe even the flywheel. Two. And the bearings weren't really that bad, but I just replaced them because this one might be for sale. And it's always nice to have a fan with new bearings in it. Also a bit of dust, but nothing that I haven't seen before, really. And I guess you don't really won't be able to see it now too much, but some of the blades have these like horizontal scratches on them that's only visible when you shine it in the light a certain way. It's very weird, and I don't know how that got there. But the other side of the blades, they're a bit dusty, so I have to clean that anyways, but I think I'll be using that as the primary side of the blades because that doesn't have any of that on there. It just looks normal. And also these are high gloss blades, and I'm not fully sure what they use to get that like glossy like mirror like shine on it. You probably saw earlier it was reflecting off of some stuff that was on the floor. But there's some like slight cracking of that on the downside of the blades. Thankfully it doesn't make any noise. Sometimes when the gloss cracks on like these types of fans, it'll make some kind of a noise when you get to the higher speeds, but this one is silent, so yeah. Just gonna flip those blades around. This really does look like a massive fan when there's no light kit on it, at least in terms of proportions. Because at its base, this is mostly a Panama, which would be 50 inches, and I guess those added few inches just make it look like an even bigger fan. Speed 4. I'm actually not sure if it's going to wobble in reverse, but it does a little bit in forward. Mostly because of the whole being on a canopy clip thing, but sometimes you're able to just swap the placement of the blades and then it won't wobble anymore. That's what I always try first before you get into any of the more tedious stuff like trying to balance each blade. Go to 5. Probably said this in other videos, but the Saturn is one of, if not just my favorite ceiling fan model that was ever made. Just has a perfect balance. Like, they look really cool. They have IntelliTouch, which I really like, and can even have different versions of it depending on how old it is. And there's so many different kinds of finishes for this, and finding the more common finishes isn't too hard, but from a collector's standpoint, as you get more into it, the really rare ones are pretty hard to find, so it leaves like something to be desired, I guess. Still after a pink and green one, or a white and green one, or a white and black one. Yeah, it's going to wobble a little bit, but here is speed 6. Get a top shot from the other side. Per usual, moves a ton of air. It's really just awesome. The reason why I'm filming this now instead of going through all the bit of cleaning first is because I'm afraid it's going to be too dark outside by the time I get finished with it. So while there's still all this lovely sunlight coming in. We're just gonna do it as is. But now, let's turn it off. Alright, well, thank you for watching a video of yet another Saturn. Hopefully the next time you see a Saturn from me, it will be something even cooler. But there you go. Planet Fan Spin. Goodbye.